Hello, who just joined me? Hey, baby. That's my husband. Don't call everybody babe. Hey, girl. Hey, hey. You guys go ahead and share. I'm gonna do a Periscope talking about what we went over in training tonight. So share if you will. But I want to go ahead and get started. That's not going to be good. We'll just, the sun's going down, so it's going to get continually darker. So I'm going to try to go over this really quickly. But one of the questions before going into tonight's training was, hey girl, hey. One of the topics that we wanted to cover in our training tonight that has been asked a lot is, how do you enroll DTs and how do you close DTs? How do you follow up with DTs who are not signing? So we talked a lot about DTs, and one of the first questions that I asked everybody that was there, and really a conversation that we talked for a little bit about, was, how did you become a distributor? So a lot of people say, well, I need help enrolling team members. I need help enrolling distributors. And my first response is, well, how did you become a distributor? And so different stories that we heard, there were lots of people who had been friend requested by a distributor, and that person had developed a relationship with them. And as they developed a relationship and as they were consistent on social media, the conversation eventually came up about it works. So I want you to think about how you became a distributor. I know for me personally, I already knew Anthony and Susan. We were college friends, and then we met. They came blitzing at a 5K that I ran. So I was blitzed. I was actually blitzed by somebody that I knew. So one of the ways that they did that is we ran into each other, but they gave me a blitz card. So blitz cards are very important because it's a conversation starter. We talked about our kids. At that point, Susan was pregnant, very pregnant. I think she was 7 or 8 months pregnant at that point, and it was hot. So that was a conversation we had. And then eventually Anthony was like, hey, have you ever heard of these? Well, we were getting ready to go to the beach at that point, and so we were interested. And then he sent me a video that talked about the business side of things. So that's how I became a distributor. I'd be interested to know how you all became distributors. But one of the things, like I said, that kept coming up was the fact that, thank you, was the fact that people had developed relationships with the person on social media. And one of the things that happened was that person started liking and commenting on their post, and they developed a relationship through posting. So one thing that's important if you're trying to enroll distributors is that you are consistent on social media. You guys know that my motto is be passionate and be consistent. If you are not being consistent on social media, people are not going to take you seriously. In fact, a lot of people are going to watch you just to see how long you're going to hang in there. Because let's just be honest, there's a lot of people that get involved with network marketing that only last a month or two. Now, it works as a loyal customer. You're a loyal customer for life. Do you really want to be a loyal customer, or would people want to be a loyal customer with you if you're only in it for a couple of months? No, they want somebody who they know is going to be a lifer. Now, since I've just brought that up, let me just go ahead and address this. Being a network marketer is not a sprint. It's a marathon. You want to consider this something that you're going to do for the long term, because if you're constantly looking at trying to rush people along and you're trying to oversell just to get the sale, that's going to show up, and people are going to see that and they're going to respond accordingly. So make sure that when you're talking to people that you're consistent, but you're not spammy. You're not pushing them into the sale, because it is on their timing and not yours. the timing is so important. I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to and leaders that I've heard have said, you know, the time wasn't right when they first approached me, but I kept watching them and they stayed with it. And I saw their success and I saw that they were consistent, and that meant a lot to me. So just make sure that you understand that it is about building relationships. Sometimes you have to build relationships over time, and sometimes it happens overnight. But you have to be willing to do whatever that person needs you to do. I'm going to turn on a light, guys. There, does that help? Or is that annoying? It's getting dark in here. Okay. So one of the things that you need to do is you make sure that you're doing it on, that you're doing it on their time, that you're looking at it for the long term and not the short term. So social media comes in really handy here. Build relationships with people. First of all, you need to friend request them. There is a way to do that that's not spammy. Make sure you have multiple mutual friends. Or maybe you need to go back and look at your life and say, what was it that I've done in my life and how many people do I know? So we have a memory jogger in eSuite. It's in your documents. Or you could just sit down with a piece of paper and think about, what schools did you go to? What churches have you gone to? What activities have you been involved in? What activities have your kids been involved in? And start looking those things up on social media, and then friend requesting, because people are more likely to accept your friend request as an acquaintance than they are a random stranger. But they're also more likely to accept your friend request if you have mutual friends. So think outside of the box there. Don't just think about, you know, who Facebook suggests, because a lot of times you're going to have mutual friends with other It Works distributors, and you want to avoid doing that, because more than likely that It Works distributor is already utilizing that relationship, and you don't want to step on people's toes. Another way that you can do that is think about the friends that you have. Say you have a friend on Facebook because you guys both worked at the same place. Go and look at their friends and see if you see anybody you know. I don't want to talk too much about social media, but just know that friend requesting people is important, and doing it in a non-spammy way, because people are really getting sick of that. You need to make sure that you are not friend requesting random strangers that are going to come across as being spammy, that you're not going to come across as being spammy. Because people are starting to see a lot of people doing that, and it's a turnoff, and it's not a good thing for our company. Once those people have become friends, you build relationships with them by liking or commenting. So you build that relationship, liking, commenting. Eventually you want to private message that person and just say, hey, how are you doing? I have a potential distributor meeting with 2 people on Wednesday, just because we have been talking over the course of a year, actually. Just, hey, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, you know, you're doing so great with school. I'm so proud of you. Whatever it may be, I'm building a relationship with that person. And then this person said to me, you know, I've been wanting to talk to you a lot. I just don't know if I can fit in my schedule, but I really want to do it. Well, the first thing I did is said, well, let's get together for coffee. If you can get them one-on-one, either on the phone or in a meeting, you are much more likely to turn that person into a potential customer or distributor than if you keep that conversation going on social media. So get them off of social media and onto the phone, whether it be, either on the phone or in person. Another important thing is that when you're building relationships, you want to make sure that you are being consistent with that person. If that person is liking and commenting on your post, just send them a message and say, hey, thanks for liking my post. I'm here if you ever have any questions. Or, hey girl, I've noticed that you've liked a lot of my post on products. Have you ever looked at my website, or would you be interested in looking at my website? You just have to treat each person individually, and that's where being thoughtful comes into play on social media. As far as closing a distributor, this is different for each person, and here's the rule of thumb. is each person that you talk to is going to be different. You can't copy and paste everything, and you can't treat each person the same, because every single person is different. And that's why you have to be thoughtful in this business. You want to reach out to people based on their own needs, because it's not about you, it's about them, it's about their needs, it's about their goals. So with that, when you talk about closing a distributor, you want to make sure it's in their time. Okay, there are people who have joined with, after watching a year or 2 or 3 years, and now they're Ambassador Diamonds, and that completely changed their enroller. And that goes to being a lifer and being in this business for a lifetime. Thank you for all the hearts. I'm loving all the beautiful green hearts. So you don't want to rush, you don't want to be spammy, you want to be consistent, and you need to be considerate of their time. Now, another thing that we talked about is, as far as enrolling distributors, is look at your loyal customers. A lot of times, loyal customers make the best distributors. Out of the handful of people that were there tonight, 3 of them became customers first and then became distributors. I know my story is a little bit different. I signed the paperwork while I had a wrap on because I saw dollar signs, but a lot of people want to try the product first. And that's okay. If somebody wants to try the product to make sure it works, I promise you they're going to be an even better distributor because they've already fallen in love with the product. All right. So if that for you means going through your loyal customers who love the products, reach out to them and say, hey, thank you so much for being a loyal customer. I know you love our products. Would you like to try them for free? Leave it there. And then you've planted the seed of being a distributor. So don't be afraid to reach out to your loyal customers, and you never know. You never know who would be interested in the business, so don't discount anybody just because of their age or their occupation or their whatever it may be. Maybe they're so busy, or maybe they're very successful in their own business. Don't hesitate to ask them if they're interested in the business. Another thing that we talked about is, as you are building these relationships with people, make sure you're putting them on a follow-up list. So if you go to Team Freedom and Fortune, in our files section, there is a follow-up list. Even if you need to create your own, make sure that you have it however it works best for you. But each person that you send a message that liked or commented, write their name down, because that shows that they're interested. Every person that you talk to, every person that you blitz, every person that you have added on social media and that you reach out to, make sure you're putting them on a follow-up list. As far as blitzing goes, that's another conversation we talked about tonight. Blitzing can be very scary for a lot of people. So a lot of people start by being stealth blitzers, and they'll just leave the coupons in bathroom stalls or on their table or in their little thing as they're paying. But as you start to get more comfortable with it, or as you start to step out of your comfort zone, here are some suggestions for you. If you're ever standing in line, don't be afraid to start a conversation with someone. And a lot of times the best way to do that is to compliment somebody. So say you're standing in line at one of the places that I always think of is Fresh Market on Tuesdays, because they have $2.99 chicken. And I love getting Fresh Market chicken for $2.99 a pound. Well, there's always a line because everybody else has the same idea. So compliment somebody about what they're wearing, or something that they're holding, you know, whether it be their purse or a kid or whatever. From there, you can always insert the question, so what do you do? Don't be creepy, okay? Don't jump right in. Build that rapport really quickly. And a lot of times that will come back, and if you stop talking long enough, they'll say, well, what do you do? And that gives you the opportunity. Another thing that's really important when you're out blitzing is what you're wearing. Okay, so I love my It Works hat. Guys, if you don't have this hat, it is the best hat that It Works has ever put out. It is fitted. It's by Nike, and it just feels amazing and it looks amazing. This is one of my other favorite shirts because it's comfortable and I can wear it with my hat. We have lots of cute apparel, but it never fails that if I go somewhere in my apparel, somebody says something to me. And we had 2 testimonies tonight of people who gained potential customers and potential distributors, all because they were in their It Works gear. So break down, go to the store, myitworkstore.com, and buy you a shirt. It's a tax write-off. Go and sell a wrap, okay? Go sell a wrap, use that $25 to buy yourself a shirt. If you don't have a shirt yet, and you can't afford one, then make that your goal to sell a wrap, sell 2 wraps, to go get some It Works gear, because it will create future potential leads for you. So that was one of the biggest things as far as blitzing goes, is being in your gear, and having that conversation. Make the conversations natural and not pushy. There are people who will go out and blitz, and when they blitz, they walk up to random people and try to have conversations. To me, I couldn't do that personally without being spammy and being weird, because I'm not comfortable with that. But I can turn me waiting in line with somebody into a conversation by complimenting them and having them talk about themselves, because people love to talk about themselves. Another thing that we talked about was taxes. I am going to do a completely other Periscope on taxes. I will say this about taxes. Almost everything is a tax write-off. So make sure you keep up with your receipts. For example, if your husband or your spouse is your business partner, every time you go to dinner together, it's a tax write-off, because at some point you're going to talk about your business. If you're not married, that's okay, because if you send a message or you post on social media, you're working at some point during that meal. So not only is your meal a tax write-off, but also the mileage to and from that place is a tax write-off. Every event we go to, the tickets, the mileage, the if you stay the night, the lodging, your office. Oh my gosh, if you don't have an office, make an office, put a desk somewhere, put a table, stack cardboard boxes and put a notepad and a pen and call that an office. It can give you huge deductions on your taxes. I think I've pretty much covered it all. So the focus of tonight's meeting was not only how to gain customers and distributors, but how to deal with people that your new green kayak does not count as a tax write-off, unless you talk about your business while you're kayaking. I don't know, that might work. We could see if we'll talk to our CPA about that. Make sure that you're wearing your gear, that you're having conversations with people when you're out and about. There was 2 different ways that people did this. So both people that got potential customers and distributors from their gear today did not have Blitz cards on them. So here's what they did. One person said, hey, are you on Facebook? Let me look yourself up. And the other person said, hey, do you have your phone? Look me up, which is something that I've not heard before, but I love it so much more, because that person is then sending you a Facebook request. And that changes things a little bit. So that's huge. We talked about social media and being consistent and not spammy. Make sure you're adding friends, but that you're building relationships with people, that you're liking and commenting. And as you're doing that, you're keeping up with people by putting that in a follow-up list, turning loyal customers into distributors by simply asking or offering, getting people on the phone or in face-to-face meetings, and being a lifer. Consider this your new full-time career, because if you're in this for the long haul, I promise you will be successful. I hope you guys have a great night. If you have any, let me ask, does anybody have any questions? Okay, if you have any other questions, you can comment in the YouTube video below comments, and I will answer any questions accordingly. Have a great night.